Hello and welcome to FineScale Modeler Weekly.
Yep, it's time for some modeling fun.
Kicking off with new products to whet your appetite.
Including this beautiful 1/48 scale P39Q Airacobra from Arma Hobby.
This is the final production variant of Bell's fighter, many of which were fitted with 50 caliber machine guns and underwing pods.
Arma's reputation for quality is on display here with crisp recessed panel lines and rivets. The upper part of the horizontal stabilizer is a single part which should make alignment a snap. And both the upper and lower wing halves are full span to set the dihedral. Nice engineering touches include an alignment line and groove at the wingtips, thinned plastic inside the shell ejection ports, and beautifully detailed gear bays. The rudder and elevators are separate, and optional nose covers point at other versions to come.
Inside, cockpit detail includes the back wall, instrument panel and pedals, footwells on the forward bulkhead, seat and propeller shaft cover, and the deck behind the seat. The car doors are molded in clear plastic, along with the canopy and more. Pre-cut masks are supplied. A special bracket supports 3 metal ball bearings for nose weight above the nose gear bay. The gear legs, exhausts, and gear doors show good detail. The main wheels are weighted, and optional nose wheels are another clue to other versions forthcoming. A drop tank or small bomb can be fitted on the centerline tank. 3D printed parts supply optional main gear covers and nose vents.
In addition to stencils, instrument panels, seat belts, and walkways, cartograph decals supply markings for 3 Airacobras. A sand-colored P39Q1 called Devastating Devil from the 46th Fighter Squadron in the Gilbert Islands in late 1943, an olive drab P39Q10 with a skull on the doors flown by Bud Anderson at Oroville, California in October 1943, and a Lend-Lease P39Q15 in the Soviet 68th Guards Fighter Aviation Division in 1944-45.
This looks terrific, and I can't wait to see it built. Nice work, Arma.
ICM has a large catalog of 1/35th scale military vehicles, both old and modern.
Now the Ukrainian maker hits the market with an M1097A2 Humvee.
This heavy carrier version has 2 crew seats and an open cargo bed.
The frame is a single part, to which are added mounts for the simplified engine. The kit is pretty much curbside. Transfer case, drivetrain, front and rear suspension, axles, springs and wheels with unbranded solid rubber tires.
The body comprises the floor pan, sides, hood with separate radiator grills top and front, windshield and firewall, rear door replacement panels, and rear with separate tailgate.
Inside are seats, dashboard, visors, controls, and the cover support behind the crew. Clear plastic provides the windshield and headlight lenses.
The small decal sheet supplies instrument dials for the dash, placards, marker and taillights, and stencils, as well as markings for 2 U.S. Army vehicles. One in NATO 3-color camo that appears to be from the 18th Infantry Regiment, the other in desert tan that seems to be from the 184th Ordnance Battalion.
The Humvee is a versatile vehicle, and having a modern tooling of it is great news.
James Bond has had many cool rides over the decades, but few are as iconic as the Aston-Martin DB5.
Which means it's great to have a new kit of 007's classic car in 1/24th scale from Revell.
It's part of Revell's Easy Click system, which means it's designed to be assembled without glue.
Molded in silver, the body has door, hood, and trunk outlines, an open hood scoop, and openings for the ejection seat and rear armor plate. Also separate is the front lower clip and the keepers for the chrome wire wheels with hollow tires.
Underneath, the bottom plate gets the rear axle and springs, steerable front wheels, and the underside of the engine and transmission appropriate for this curbside model, as well as the exhaust.
The interior is platform style with separate sides and front seats, dash, steering wheel, and controls. The revolving license plates seen in Goldfinger are also supplied.
The windows are individual parts, most of which clip in from outside. Head and taillights are also supplied.
The decals give dials for the dash, marker lights, badging, bullet strikes on the armor plate, and 3 license plates. They're also given as stickers.
This kit has a lot of fun options, and it should appeal to Bond fans.
And because of the Easy Click system, it's accessible to even new modelers.
And the box can be shaken, not stirred.
So, if you're like me, you've admired those beautiful wooden ship models on display tables and contests and wondered, can I do that?
Well, the Nautical Research Guild is here to help me and you build the skills to do that with these two kits.
The first, the Introduction to Planking Kit, will show you how to lay the keel and add bulkheads using laser cut parts. Basswood sheets are provided for the planking, and you are guided step by step through the process of measuring each one to fit the curvature in a process called spiling. The 71-page digital instruction sheet is detailed and accessible.
The second set covers another of the challenges of ship modeling, masting, and rigging. It includes laser-cut bulkheads and wood to plank a small section of hull and deck, wood to be shaped into the mast and channels, wire for the eye bolts and chains, wooden deadeyes and bolts, and various sizes and colors of ropes for the rigging and ratlins.
So given everything that's in these are a great place to get started building wooden ships. So for as long as Tamiya has been making 1/35th scale armor, especially German tanks, it was surprising to me that they had never done a Panzer I.
Until now, with the all-new 1/35th scale Panzerkampfwagen 1 Ausf, the later longer version.
Typical of modern Tamiya kits, the hull builds from a belly with internal brace to support the sides, glasses, and fenders, front and rear. The fighting compartment casemate is separate, as is the transmission cover and rear.
The running gear includes bogies, road wheels with separate tires, idlers, and drive sprockets, as well as link and length tracks.
The turret gets a pair of machine guns in the mantlet. Small parts like tools and separate hatches look great.
There are clear headlight lenses, a photo-etched metal exhaust heat shield, and a commander figure.
Sharp decals supply markings for 3 German tanks, all in overall dark gray. A 4th Panzer Division Panzer I in Poland in September 1939, another 4th Panzer Division vehicle in France in spring 1940, and one from an unknown unit in Russia in 1941.
German tanks and Tamiya kits are always popular. Combine the two and you have a winner.
For sure. Early in this season, we looked at HobbyBoss's 1/700th scale RMS Titanic. You can see that video at the link in the description.
Now, HobbyBoss is back with the lead ship in the class, the Olympic.
As you'd expect, much of the kit is the same, except for new parts to represent the earlier liner's open promenade deck, a lot more lifeboats reflecting changes made after the Titanic's sinking, and a couple of other new sections for the upper deck structures.
This kit includes diagrams to paint the Olympic in dazzle camouflage as it looked as a troop ship in World War I.
This scheme has been on my to-do list for a long time. HobbyBoss has also announced plans to do a 1/700th scale Britannic, as it looked as a hospital ship in World War I, which means you could do all 3 ships in the class in different schemes.
IBG Models produces interesting kits.
The latest being the 1/72nd scale Mi-17 in Polish service based on HobbyBoss plastic.
These parts feature fine recessed panel lines, a decent interior, landing gear, and rotors.
New 3D printed parts provide various antennas, countermeasure dispensers, new landing gear parts, rotor vibration absorber, and weapon pylons.
Decals and color diagrams show 7 marking options for what appears to be the same Polish Mi-17T. In overall dark green in the Central African Republic as part of a European Union force in 2008, in the same camo from the 1st Army Aviation Wing in Poland in 2007, wearing green and gray camouflage with the 7th Special Operations Squadron in 2020, in 3-tone camouflage with the 37th Transport Helicopter Regiment in 1990, and again in 1992, and at an air show in 1991. The final option is in a different 3-color camo with the 1st Army Aviation Wing in 2004.
The 3D printed parts and the choice of decals make this a very attractive kit.
And finally, something a little different.
The HobbyBoss 1/35th scale LAV 300 fire support vehicle armed with a 90mm gun.
The Cadillac Gauge design armored fighting vehicle is mostly used today by the Philippine Marine Corps.
The hull builds from the upper and lower halves and rides on the 6-wheel drive suspension, with hollow rubber tires on plastic wheels.
Most of the hatches are separate, and there is some detail in the driver, commander, and troop compartments. The turret features a stowage basket, and the main gun is made from several slide-molded sections.
Clear plastic supplies lights and vision blocks, And there are photo etch metal heat shields, basket liners, attachments, and more.
Decals and color diagrams show 2 marking options: a Philippine Marine vehicle in 3 color splotches and a Philippine vehicle in 4 color digital camo.
This is a little off the beaten track, but it's very interesting.
Look for reviews of the P-39, Humvee, Aston-Martin, shipbuilding sets, and Panzer I at FineScale.com.
FineScale Modeler Weekly, brought to you by Hobby Zone USA, your source for hobby storage solutions, hard-to-find hobby tools, and aftermarket modeling needs.
Today we're going to take a look at a pair of air compressor kits from Timbertech. Now, Timbertech is the North American brand name for Fengda, which is a Chinese manufacturer, and Airgoo is another brand name from Fengda. So, Timbertech in the US, Fengda in Europe and other parts of the world, and then Airgoo is the more upscale brand for what it is that they're producing. I'm going to let you know right now, we are not breaking new ground with showing you these 2 sets. The AS-182 has been out for about 10 years, and over here, the AS-186K, this set has been out for about 7 years. However, it's still probably a good idea to just sort of circle back and take a look at what you can get with these 2 inexpensive airbrush and air compressor kits. First off, what you get with the AS-18-2K kit, it's the AS-18-2, not the AS-182. Anyway, you get the compressor. The compressor is oilless, it's single piston, and it's 0.17 horsepower. You get the pressure regulator with the gauge. You get a water trap with an air filter. You can see it in there. And it also comes with this handy dandy little, stand holder for 2 airbrushes if you're into that sort of thing. It also comes with a 6-foot hose with 2 1/8 inch female connectors, a set of paints, primary colors, and black and white, an AG-130 airbrush, which we'll take a look at here in a second, and some cleaning tools. So the AG-130 airbrush, let's go ahead and open this up. Timbertech 130, the Elite Airbrush Kit. So what comes in the Elite Airbrush Kit? Well, it comes with a nice plastic case, airbrush, pull that on out of there, little pipette comes in there, wrench for taking out the nozzle, and then, well, if you don't have a hose that you can screw into, you can use this. Don't need to worry about that. So the airbrush itself. So the airbrush has a 0.3 millimeter nozzle, matching needle, obviously. It's dual action, so push down, pull back. The gravity feed cup is mounted directly to the top of the airbrush. Let's take a look down inside here. That's what it looks like inside there. A little bit different design from what you might be used to. A little depression down in there, but you can see the personnel. The AG-130 does not have a MAC valve up here for fine tuning, which is fine. Not all airbrushes have that, but it does have an adjuster back here so that you can limit how big your throw is on the trigger. So basic, standard, dual action airbrush. So one of the things I did want to point out is that of the more inexpensive airbrush brands, I really do like Timbertech Fengda's design here for the throat at the bottom of this gravity feed cup, because it's quite large, and that means that it's going to be easy to clean, and you're going to be able to get a Q-tip down in there to really get out anything that might be dried or gunked up in there. So you're not really having to work with, you know, super small areas there. So I do like that. One other thing too that I wanted to point out is up here at the front. Let's go ahead and take this off. As we saw before, it does come with a wrench so that you can take off the nozzle. So this is not a self-centering nozzle. You're going, if you're gonna, you know, you're gonna clean this, if you wanna clean it, what you're gonna end up doing is taking your needle out, and then you're gonna have to use the wrench that is supplied to go ahead and loosen that and take it off. Be careful when you're doing that. You do not wanna over tighten when you're putting that nozzle back on, because it's just a brass piece and you can go ahead and you can really shear that threaded part off. So just, you know, for people who are new to airbrushes, you know, it is not self-centering. Be careful when you're tightening this thing back down. Then over here, we have the AS-186K for, I think, kit, right? That's the overall package. So the AS-186, you're basically getting this compressor with a tank attached, this 3-liter tank, plus you still get the pressure valve, the gauge, the water trap with the air filter, the stand or holders for your 2 airbrushes that you might be using. And then by necessity, obviously, because you've got this 3-liter tank, you're also going to get this pressure valve and then this switch here that will turn the air compressor off once this tank is full. Also, on the bottom of the tank, you'll see that there is this drainage valve. So, about this drainage valve, Fengda suggests that you drain this tank once a week, and that's totally cool. I'm not arguing with that. Do not take this plug out while this tank is under pressure. Go ahead and release all the air out of it, either using this, or you can use this valve here too, all right? Either one of them works just as well. This actually, compared to some of the other air compressors that I've had, this works really nice. It doesn't hurt your finger when you push on it, so it just releases it. If you're using this as your pressure release from the tank, you are asking for trouble. Now you may say, Tim, I've been doing that for years and nothing's happened to me yet. Well, yet. That's all I'm saying. Yet. That's luck. So do not use this to release pressure from the tank. Use either this valve or this valve. This is a pressure release valve. There's nothing emergency about it. If this tank overfills, yes, of course, this will open up to release that pressure, but you can use it also to release the pressure yourself from the tank. Once all the air pressure is out of that tank, then loosen this, open it up, and then you can slosh all of that liquid out. There's a possibility it might be a little dirty, a little icky. Get the water out. Once you're done, dry everything off, put the plug back in, and you're good to go. So I think what's there left to do but to turn these things on and see how loud they are. So I've got the AG130 connected to the braided air hose, and well, we can just go ahead and insert that right into the holder there. See? And then turn it on. Well, there it is. It's charged up and ready to go. We've got it set to somewhere over 20. Go ahead and look at that. So just a little bit more than 20 PSI when working with it. I've had air compressors in the past that have rattled around on me because they were just working so hard. This guy is sitting nice and still. Not going anywhere. Okay, I don't think that that's too loud. Now they say that this is, was it 47 decibels, something like that? I can easily talk to you over it, although I am loud, but that works pretty nice. I'm gonna turn it off here. Let the rest of the pressure out. So one thing I do want to let you know is that I connected a Grex airbrush to this hose. I connected an Iwata airbrush to this hose. So if you grow beyond just having this airbrush, you want a different airbrush, you can probably find an airbrush that's going to go ahead and fit this 1/8 inch coupling. If you have an airbrush that doesn't fit this, there are adapters out there for you. So that shouldn't be too difficult, but this 1/8 inch coupling, that seems to be pretty close to what's being the standard now. So you shouldn't have too hard a time putting another airbrush or pairing another airbrush with this compressor. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other one. I already have the airbrush connected to the hose connected to the air compressor in the tank. Let's go kick it on. All right, tank is charged. We've got it up here just a tad about 28, I would say, PSI. And then for a working, just a little bit over 20. So let's go ahead and see how long it takes. I'm just gonna, before it kicks on. How much? 20? And there it is, charged up again and ready to go. So again, just to talk about releasing the pressure, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can go right here from the bottom side of the water trap. Not too bad. You could just let it out through the airbrush. Unless you're doing something with super high pressure, you can do it from the hose. Just make sure that you're hanging onto the hose when you're doing it. And maybe don't take it all the way off. Oh, turn off the compressor. That's always a good thing. Anyway, so you can do that, and you let it out this way. Or you can use this valve here to let the air pressure out of your tank. A couple of final things to point out. These pressure regulators, they have locking knobs, so to change, you push up, you can adjust your pressure. Once you're happy with it, you can lock that back down. They both have those. If I were to change something, if Fengda, Timbertech, Airgoo came to me and asked, I would update these airbrushes so that they had self-centering nozzles. But otherwise, everything that comes in these kits, I mean, we're looking at $75 over here, $104 over here. You get an airbrush. The paints are, I didn't test the paints. It's because I'm probably not going to use them. I'm going to use, you know, hobby paints. So the paints themselves are sort of ancillary to me. But you get the airbrush, you get the tank and the air compressor, or just the air compressor. They're quiet. They don't rattle a lot. They don't dance around on your workbench. I gotta say, I mean, when I first got one of these many years ago from another manufacturer, that air compressor, I had to really hem it in. I had to make a little box for it so it wouldn't move around. I couldn't keep it on the workbench because it would rattle the workbench, and then everything on the workbench would rattle, so I had to keep it on the floor underneath the workbench. These, you could probably keep it right on your workbench. We had it on ours here, and it wasn't moving stuff around on the workbench, so I really like that. Like I say, it was quiet. They did the job. I think you could do a lot worse than these Timbertech air compressor and tank, or just the air compressor itself. So this has been a what a few weeks we have gone through here.
Yes.
We've gone through the acquisition with Firecrown. We have moved offices.
Yep.
We have done a bunch of shows. It's been crazy. It's been crazy here at FSM for
Half
the
the time
last.
you don't know if you're coming or going, right?
Well, let's see here. This will be episode 12 of season 3 of FineScale Modeler Weekly. So we've done 12 episodes plus the special seminar that so it's like 15 weeks. The past 15 weeks have been nuts.
Yes.
Craziness.
Yep, absolutely. So, and with that, with the 12th episode, we are at the end of season 3 of FineScale Modeler Weekly. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to be back next week with more videos and every week after that.
Right. So, because we go to shows, and we get the question, "Hey, when you guys gonna be back on?" So, we were never off.
No, trust us. We know we're never off.
We're doing videos every week. What
Yep.
do you mean? When are we going to be back on? Yep. No, we're back. Yep. We're going to be back next week.
Yep.
With something new.
Yep. We are working on plans for more scale model basics.
That's what we're turning our attention to next. We're going to go back and do more scale model basics. Which, if you guys are, watching, that we're listening to you, we're taking in questions and those sorts of things, and we're touching on the basics, those skills that everybody kind of needs to know, and just bringing them, showing them to you. And then when we see something that in a video that maybe we've done and go, you know what, we could probably do that better, or there's a little bit of a different technique. I'm getting ahead of myself.
It really has been a long few weeks.
If we can do something a little bit different and show you guys, we'll do that too.
Yep.
We'll also do a couple of at the workbenches. I know there have been questions. I am finally getting toward the end of the Budweiser beer wagon
Does that
build.
mean you're going to stop horsing around at the workbench?
Oh!
Sorry, I should rein that in.
You should, very much so. All right, anyway, we're going to forget all of that, but we've got plenty of stuff that's going to be coming up here in the coming weeks. So please stick around, come on back, and, hang out with us every week. We like seeing you.
And we will be back for season 4 of FineScale Modeler Weekly in a few weeks.
A little bit more than a few. How about several? We'll go with several because we've got a whole season of scale model basics to do.
So.
Anyway, we will be back.
Yep.
So until next week,
we'll see you guys next week.
bye.
Oh, it is me. I thought that big mean gear covers. Tall and deck.
For sure.
For sure.
This is based on hobby.
Were you gonna say hobby ship? Hobby ship.
I just repeated that. Gauge. Gosh darn it.
Yeah,
See you later could have worked.
I know.
We'll see you guys later. Come on. A bientôt. A tout à l'heure.
Okay, so we'll see you later, as in next week.
Oh, stop.
It was fun, but
For sure.